Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RockerMike and Rob Presents show. I'm RockerMike. Top right there, we got Mr. Rob Rossi. And we have a returning guest today. Very excited to have back Mr. Charles F. Rosenay. Hello, Charles. And with him, we have his partner in crime. They wrote a book together. We're going to talk about this. His name is Mark Arnold. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Cool.
Glad to be here.
Oh, man. Charles, I got to say, man, it's been great. I haven't seen you in about a year and a half. We've kept in touch, though. But the last show you were on, it did well. You were talking about your Beatles book of lists and your Monkees radio and all that stuff. For those who remember, who maybe didn't see that last show, but you might remember, I met Charles at the Mohegan Sun at the show that Bowser puts on every year. Bowser from Sha-Na-Na, the oldie show.
Yeah. Bowser's show with some great acts, and we hit it off. We were both backstage. Let's let everyone know we both had VIP.
Yes, we were very special that day. It's true.
Hey, and Charles, can I tell you something? Your show was the fastest to reach 1,000 views.
Well, right. Of course.
That's right. I think it was. Yeah.
We got to top that tonight.
We're going to top that.
I demand a recount. Oh, sorry.
I think Eric Adams won a recount.
Oh, never mind that. So we had to ask you back because you got in touch with me and you mentioned that you wrote a book about the Turtles. Okay,
it's me.
That is the 60s rock band, the Turtles, famous for Flo and Eddie and all that. And I was really excited to hear about that. Not just because I'm a fan, but I don't really know of too many books about the Turtles. Is that, are you kind of like alone there with the only book about them, like a real book?
Yeah, I think aside from a few of the guys themselves who put out their quasi autobiographies, this is the definitive book. This is a discography. It's an anthology. It's the most comprehensive book on the band ever. If you want to know about every song they ever recorded, this is the place to go. If you want to read interviews with the members of the band and people connected to them, everything is in there. I mean, it's a huge book. I mean, it's too heavy for me to even lift, and we're very proud of it. But you're right. There's not a lot of Turtles books there, and we called it, in the Turtles A to Z. We've really tried to encapsulate everything that a pure, true fan would already know or want to dig deeper into and would love, but also someone who doesn't know anything about this band is going to like, oh my God, how could I not know the greatn't of the Turtles?
Yeah. I think a lot of people know at least the song Happy Together. It's probably their most famous, but they had a lot of other hits and a lot of great songs. And the actual title is not just Happy Together, the Turtles from AM radio to Zappa, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the Zappa connection is probably not as well known for most people. We'll get into that. But let me ask you, how did you guys connect to write this book together? Maybe you want to answer that, Mark.
All right. Well, Charles F. Rosenay, I'd known him forever from Good Day Sunshine. I was one of his subscribers way back in the day.
The Beatles magazine he had, right? Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Never in a million years would I ever think that I would either meet this man or go on tour with him in England like I did this year, or write a book with him. So there we go. But it happened. How it happened is both of us were appearing on a podcaster who goes by the name Plastic EP in Australia. And we were giving our comments about Monkees songs and Monkees albums and Monkees this and Monkees that and everything like that. My pedigree for Monkees is that I've written 2 books about them with another author named Michael Ventrella. Charles' pedigree is, of course, he's had Monkees conventions and everything else.
Right.
So, we started cracking wise on his show and we hit it off. And so we started talking off podcast, as it were, and discussed possible projects to work on. And Turtles was one of them that came up. So here we are.
Yeah, we hit it off, as friends first. and then as authors second, and said, what can we do? What needs to be out there? What passion do we have in this world for a band that is unheralded, that should deserve a lot more recognition? There's a billion Beatle books, Mark's put out 2 Monkey books and a Beatles book. This band was the one we thought needed the most attention, and we both loved them so much that we thought this was the right move. And thanks to Genius Books, Genius Publishing, who put out the beautiful hardcover of it, people are loving it. So it was a good move. It was a good combination, and I never want to speak to him again after tonight.
You know what it is? That's really not a lot about the Turtles out there. This is a band like, if we got to describe it right now, we should talk about a little bit of the history, how you guys got into it, because this is pretty fascinating shit that you guys did. I gotta tell you, like,
yeah,
impressive. So we gotta talk to the viewers. They're like 4-year-olds and they never heard of the Turtles. Because a lot of people don't know them. I told somebody I'll do an interview on the Turtles, and they had no idea who the fuck they were.
But Rob, I bet they knew the song "Happy Together" because
they probably all know that song, but they don't even know who sang it.
Right, it's part of our DNA. It's in commercials. It's in movies. You hear it on the radio.
It's everywhere.
And it's like, wait, who's that band? The animals, the crickets, the turtles. And that's why one of the things we hit upon, we got to call the book not just Happy Together, and then of course the Turtles A to Z, like you described it. But the fact is, so many hits, so much musical collaborations, so much history that this band has beyond that song. And that was pretty much the reason why, the purpose.
But you can't even put it that way, because it's not just that song. That's a great song. Okay, right. It's a great. If that was like their only hit ever, I'd say it's still a great song.
Right.
But they combined, kind of the British invasion sound, even though they weren't from England, they were Americans. Yes. But they had that influence, but they also combined it with, folk a little bit. And there was a big Bob Dylan influence on them, and all these different things that came to make their music. I put them up there with bands like, Paul Revere and the Raiders and stuff like that. I think they're that good. All right, and of course Flo and Eddie went on to other things, and joining up with Zappa and all that, and that to me, that's like a bizarre combination. We did a show about 2 years ago on Zappa, and a buddy of ours was on it because he's such a Zappa head, and he's like, "Yeah, that period was totally nuts."
Well, if you think about it, all right, we're talking about acts that combined, and which is what I love, humor with their music. So you think of the Beatles, always great, high personality, funny. And amazing songs, great music. The Monkees, similar. If you respect them or not, we respect them very highly. It's humor, it's personality, and great songs. The Turtles, great songs, personality, and humor. And Frank Zappa was a large dose of humor. Yeah. So he got it. They were on the same way.
Not everybody got his humor, but he was funny. It's true.
I want to add something that's common to all these groups that we're saying, Monkees, Beatles, Turtles, is it was also at the time where music was progressing at a very rapid pace, and Turtles fell along with that. You mentioned some of the folk songs they were doing. They were doing Mr. Tambourine Man and things like that, like everybody else. But and then they had It Ain't Me Babe with a hit, but pretty soon they realized we got to keep going. They wanted to be the Beatles. They admitted in interviews. So over time, whenever the Beatles would go to the next level, Revolver, oh, we better follow that. Oh, Sgt. Pepper, we better do something like that. White Album, we better do something like that. Just keep, doing something better and greater that's more advanced.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
That was very astute of you to say that they weren't just this pop band. They were doing folk. And you listen to some of their stuff. I mean, they're doing beach music. They sound like the Beach Boys. They did a song where they sound like the Beatles. You play a song and it's like, wait, that's not Eric Harmon. That's not the Raspberries. Mm-hmm. Such a wide variance of genres within this one band that, they play the song of their they wrote songs that were similar to their heroes, as in the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the bands they loved, but they went on their own, their own talents, and it's so underappreciated. So thank you for mentioning the fact that they weren't just this, they're not the one hit wonder, and they're not that 1 5-hit wonder either.
No,
they had a lot of, I guess you could say, depth really to what they were doing. And they influenced people down the line too. And a lot of people you wouldn't even think, like Flo and Eddie appear on Alice Cooper's the song Teenage Lament.
Right.
In the backing vocals. Okay. That's off the Muscle of Love album, I think it's 74. So I mean, you think of Alice Cooper, would he be listening to the Turtles?
Well, they went on tour. They went on tour as the opening act.
Yeah,
during that time too. So
that's true, they did. Yeah. So I guess they got to be friends, but they definitely influenced people. What was I going to say? With how much, they kind of like got into a Dylan thing, I guess, with "It Ain't Me, Babe" and a couple other tracks. But they didn't really do it, in my opinion, like the Byrds did, for instance. Okay, like kind of make a career out of doing Dylan songs. I don't mean that in a derogatory way to the Byrds, but they kind of did that. But they were kind of, they drew from many different sources,
right?
Okay, and then they would spit it out in their own style, And I think it just worked. Would you agree with that?
100%. And I saw Roger McGuinn this past weekend, and he does a storyteller show where he talks about, his influences.
I've seen him recently. I know.
Great show, and the Dylan and all that. But what I think is they took all these influences and then they made it their own. They made it as catchy as let's, try to get a hit out of it, until the point where they didn't care about hits anymore. When you think of "It Ain't Me, Babe," I always love saying, the Beatles gave us "Yeah, Yeah, Yeah," and the Turtles gave us "No, No, No." I like their version much better than Dylan's, but that's me.
Is there? Let's see. I'm trying to think of some comparisons. They did one thing the Beatles didn't do. If I'm right here, didn't the Turtles play the White House?
Yes. Yes.
Wasn't there an incident with that or something? Like Pat Nixon was a fan or something like that?
No, Tricia Nixon, the daughter, was a fan.
Okay.
And she said so in some magazine or something like that. And she, for her birthday, they got the opportunity to invite them to the White House, which the Turtles, not liking the president or that administration, wanted to say no. And White Whale, their label, said, no, you do it as an American. You do it because, it's an important thing to do and blah, 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 give you good exposure. So they said, okay, fine, we'll do it. The story that they tell, which is told really well if you ever see the Turtles documentary by Rhino Records, is they're bringing in all the equipment, but the FBI people, the Secret Service or whatever, they're all bringing in the equipment, and they don't know equipment from anything else. So, one of the pieces of equipment starts ticking, and so they said, "Hit the deck," and everybody jumps down on the ground and everything like that. And then they open up one of the suitcases and they pull out this item that's ticking, and then they pull out this little stem or something, and then it puts out this tone that goes boo. They said it's like the A-tone tuning, tone for a guitar,
I know what that is.
And then that's when everything went ballistic, and so they ran out through it and then into the water and everything, and come back and they go, it's a metronome.
It's a metronome.
Yeah. And supposedly they paid for it, and I think the drummer John Sider still possesses the uncashed check for $75.
They were paid $75 for the gig.
For that White metronome. Not for the gig, for that messed up metronome. I don't know if they were paid for the gig.
Were they paid for the gig, or that was free?
I'm not sure. I don't know on that for sure, but I know they had free access and they had all catered food and everything like that. So, and they had pretty much full run of the White House except for the private offices and the Oval Office or anything like that. But it's like, but pretty much. So I don't know if they got paid. That's one thing that they never discussed, and I don't think it's really in print. But they may not have. But it was probably, again, a good PR deal. So, and they got
Right.
something out of it. So
Yeah, kind of take it for your country kind of thing, I guess.
exactly.
Yeah. That reminds me. I mean, you could have had a similar incident years later with the Carter administration, because Amy Carter was a big Ramones fan.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Okay, and imagine if they would have played the White House
I think they learned their lesson from the Turtles.
from the Nixons. Yeah, I think so. That's
No more rock bands. No, Pat Boone only.
yeah. So where can we get this book? Is it on Amazon? Is usual outlets? So where can we get it?
yeah, Amazon. I think all our books are, but there's a website, www.notjusthappytogether.com, which is right here, if I'm not
Right
mistaken.
there. I see it.
Yep.
And this way, if people want, a copy with both our autographs, they can do that through that website. We signed a bunch of insert cards. So if someone wants the book signed by both of us, they get that. If they want to just get a regular copy and save the shipping, they can do that on Amazon.
Now I know, Charles. I know you're in the Connecticut area. Are you doing any book signings at all, or the two of you? Or
Doing any book signings? Literally 3 a week between libraries and institutions. I have booked myself. I have hoarded myself out like never before.
He's the king of promotion.
There's really no better way to sell copies of books than to really be in people's face and I tell a story and then sign it. It's been a little harder with this book because we're not together. The Beatle book, my ghost book, the horror book. I do library appearances, speak for an hour, show some video, make it interactive with the crowd, and then at the end, I hope they come up and buy books, and they usually do.
Well, last week we interviewed a girl named Madeline Baccaro.
Oh, Yoko.
Yeah, you know her, right?
Yeah.
She wrote the book about Yoko that's out, and she's doing a signing in New Jersey on the 7th of October. I'm probably going.
Yes, she's great.
So you got to let me know when your signings are up. I'll try to promote a little bit or try to go.
Appreciate that.
I don't think she appreciates wax. So what the fuck was Yoko Ono there while they're fucking playing? I don't think she appreciates that. She got a little quiet.
We tried to be very nice.
Rob can't be on when she's mute. Rob, mute your mic.
Yeah.
Oh, I was very nice.
He was.
I didn't say too much, but I just wanted to sit on it. I was like, I can't do this. This is wrong. Mike's talking to her. I'm like, that fucking woman, she broke up the Beatles. I don't care what any fucking body say. They were already breaking up, but she's in it.
Think what you want, but her book is great.
Her book
is good. No, the book is good,
Yeah. And she's a sweet girl. But book signings are great. Just let us know when they are, and we'll put them up for you. Now, last time we spoke, you kind of surprised us because you had another one called True Ghost Stories of Connecticut.
Sure.
Okay. And you're kind of an authority on the paranormal. You do these paranormal conventions and all that. What's up with that? Have you got anything going on that angle?
Believe it or not, October 18th, 19th, and 20th, theshadowsofsalem.com. We're bringing a horror and paranormal convention to Salem, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. We got five of the cast and crew members of Texas Chainsaw Massacre reuniting for their 50th anniversary.
Wow.
12 or 15 paranormal guests from all over the East Coast are going to be there. It's a real big extravaganza in Salem.
How much would that run the person if they wanted to do it?
To go to the convention?
Yeah.
$19.
That's it. Okay. Yeah, that's a bargain.
That's it.
I used to go to a lot of the chiller conventions. I kind of stopped going, but that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Can you name who you
go to the comic book convention, and for $19, that's a bargain.
What'd you say, Mark?
I was going to say, can you name who you got from Texas Chainsaw?
Ed Neal.
Okay.
I think, was he the hitchhiker? Hold on, I should know it off
Did
the
you
top of my
get John Larroquette, the narrator?
That would have been a coup. I got John Dugan, who was Grandpa.
Okay.
That's the big one for me.
Well, isn't Gunnar passed away?
Yeah, most of
he's gone. Yeah.
I think all but one gal is passed. So it's kind of whoever was still alive and willing to travel is the best way I can say it. But
Whoever they didn't kill with a chainsaw.
Wait. Here we go. The Edwin Neal, who was the hitchhiker.
Yeah.
Kirk was played by William Vale. It was in the van. The truck driver at the end.
Oh, wow.
Edwin, that's huge. Grandpa. And then Daniel Pearl, which was a real score because he was the cinematographer.
Ooh, okay.
We got 4 of the actors and one,
one crew member.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was always a big fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was too young to see the first one in the movies, but when the second one came out, like in the mid '80s, the one with Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Right? I remember seeing that, right? Like I think it was opening night, right? And it ended up I was the only one left in the theater. The whole place walked out. They thought it was so bad. They walked out. I'm like, where are you going? I'm like, this is a great movie.
I've never heard of an entire theater walking out on a film.
It's true. I was the last one by the end. Everybody left. It's funny.
Wow. But anyway,
That's pretty funny.
It's theshadowsofsalem.com. And it's going to be a great event. There's going to be meet and greets with the stars, all the paranormal conventions, all the things you have at a convention. But on the Friday night, the opening night, we're doing a screening of the film.
Cool.
With all the people in attendance with a Q&A and all that. So it should be pretty cool.
So let's get back to happy, not just happy together for a second.
Happy together.
Sunday, Monday, happy day. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that too. Someone's got to write a book about happy days, definitely.
Don't get Mark started.
I'll a happy day.
I know a lot about happy days.
The worst spinoff, Johnny Love Chachi.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Mark and Mindy.
But Mark and Mindy lasted, so did Laverne and Shirley.
Lasted,
but
the whole, the expression.
One season out, she went back to the trader.
Yeah, you guys know the expression "jump to shark," right?
Oh yeah,
that comes from Happy Days.
Of course it does.
All right, because everything went downhill after he jumped the shark.
But Mike and Rob, there was one classic episode of Joni Loves Chachi where she meets Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah,
and it's not Paul McCartney; it's our friend Mitch Weissman from Beatlemania who plays McCartney.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Dude, I was telling somebody, I was at Poppy's years ago. There was this diner called Poppy that was the only one down by the meat packing industry. And one day I'm talking to this kid Hector that worked there, and I got like a BLT, and I go to him. Jesus Christ, that guy's sitting over there looked like Paul McCartney. He whispered in my ear, "That is Paul McCartney. His daughter's store is around the corner instead of Paul McCartney." And like I was like, all right. And nobody was bugging him. It was amazing. Like there he was, like he was writing something, eating something. It was fucking weird.
Hey, if this was the 60s and they were still having like shows like Car 54, Where Are You? And It's About Time and all those shows, Mr. Rossi would have been a great character actor in those shows.
Oh, yeah. He'd be a character actor now. I mean,
I have been in a few movies, but I'm typecast. I always play the bartender.
Yeah, and you've done some commercials, right? You've done some stuff. That's funny. Now, let me ask you about this book. What was if you could pick maybe one or two things in your research that shocked you or surprised you or really something you didn't know that was surprising? Can you think of anything?
Well, I list somewhere in the book, and I'm not dissing the Rhino documentary. I found about 10 different corrections. I won't call them errors because, people's memories after 30, 40, 50 years, they get faulty, And so, but there's things that they claim in the documentary that aren't exactly correct to what evidence shows, but like record releases and other things. It shouldn't ruin your enjoyment of that documentary. It's a great documentary and anybody should see it. It's on YouTube right now. But, that was the thing that was shocking to me because, it's like I always want everything to be historically accurate 100%, but you can't always get that. And so and it is a matter of perspective. Like one of the ones I know is one of the band members supposedly left because they met the Beatles in England, and John Lennon and him had like a bad experience together, and so he quit the band. If you talk to that band member, he says, well, I left just because I was exhausted. It had nothing to do with John Lennon. So, it's he said, she said kind of thing. So, yeah.
Hey, Mark, what's the name of that documentary?
It is called Happy Together, The Turtles. And it was made by Rhino Records around 1990 or something like that. And
it's on YouTube right now?
It should be on YouTube for free. Yeah.
It's great.
I mean, you could also buy it on DVD, but it's or tape, if you go back that far. But I used to have it on VHS tape, and I wore it out. I used to play it so many times. So I was so happy when it came out on DVD.
I mostly stream everything.
Yeah, but if you go on YouTube, it's absolutely free. So it's it's just called Happy Together, The Turtles, and it's a Rhino documentary. On that one, they interview Flo and Eddie, and most of the band members. A couple of the band members, ironically, that they don't interview, we didn't either. So they're just kind of reclusive. So I don't feel so bad that we didn't get them. They didn't
want to talk.
But they interview people that we did interview. They interviewed Spanky McFarlane of Spanky and Our Gang. We did too. Trying to think who else we interviewed that they did too. It's just, so we tried to get everybody involved that was either an actual turtle or a friend of the Turtles, toured with the Turtles, like the Turtles, whatever, and Charles hasn't mentioned it, but we managed, or actually they, meaning Charles and Plastic EP, managed to get what might be the final interview with Howard Kalin, because he doesn't do interviews anymore. He no longer tours with the group. He's retired, and he doesn't do interviews, but we managed to pull him out of retirement long enough to ask him a few questions on Plastic's podcast, and that's on YouTube somewhere too. So
we transcribed that for the book along with the other interviews, and it's so funny. I just realized the connection with what we were just saying. Mitch Weissman, who played Paul McCartney in Beatlemania, and who played him
too, yes,
is in our book because he toured for a while as one of the Turtles. He was in their backing band.
Right.
It all comes together. For me, Mark is much more educated than I am, and much more intelligent, and much more, well-read. So he knew a heck of a lot more than I did on the Turtles.
Wow.
So a lot of this was a learning experience for me, listening to songs that were already part of his, part of his, life, and he knew so many more than I did. So going into this was a joy, discovering songs that I never knew were the Turtles, that I never heard of. And that's a lot of the fun of the book. For someone, may not be the biggest Turtles fan, but if you remember the old Siskel and Ebert show, where they would talk about movies, and one would do thumbs up, one would do thumbs down. For every single song in the book, Mark would give his commentary, and I would give my commentary. And usually his was very, educational and highfalutin and brilliant, and I would be silly, and I would say, but if you take out the middle eight, this would sound like such and such. I was like the common listener to it, and it's a great.
You were the Roger Ebert.
Well, yeah. And it was a great. Or was I?
Or he was the Mark Volman. He's the one tossing the tambourine while I'm trying to sing. So,
but it was the perfect yin and yang to make the book, an enjoyable read as well as an informative read. And I'm lying anyway. I'm much more intelligent than he is, but he needs to.
Hey, Charles, I got to tell you something. The other day, I was smoking some doobies, and I watched the Monkey's Head.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Journey where you're fucking stoned. I had no idea what was fucking going on for 90 minutes.
Oh man.
So this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. You need to do a triple feature. You need to watch Head, Magical Mystery Tour, and then what's the Zappa movie I'm going to say?
Oh, 200 Motels.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh my God.
I think after that, you never come back. You'll lose your mind.
Take some mushrooms. Watch that shit. You'll be out of your mind.
Yeah, just some mushroom edibles or something, Forget it. Oh,
let's go back to
I hope there's no kids watching the show. We're talking about drugs.
Hey, let's go back to the freaking Turtles, man, because you guys, that book it was a home run, man. It's a great book, and you guys got a lot of information, a lot of details, and damn, like, how long did this take for you guys to do?
Well,
I think
2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
2 years in the making.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
You guys
Charles is
together?
best. Charles is best in securing the interviews. He knows everybody. So, and I was good of just, like you said, I learned information from just reading little bits and pieces, since there isn't a book other than at the time, I guess Howard Kalin had his autobiography, which was a great help, and that documentary. But, I wanted to go deeper because, the documentary and his book made me ask more questions like, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that? You even asked a question just earlier, and it's the same type of thing. Did they get paid for that gig? I didn't even think about that. It's like,
Right.
but I mean, so there's much more to explore about the Turtles. It's like, there's probably a run sheet out there that says, yes, you got paid this and this and this and that, whatever,
Now let's get into some of the technical stuff. I mean, how many number ones did they have?
They
Was
only
it just
had
happened
one.
together? Was it only number one?
Yeah,
just one, right?
They had a number of top 10 hits.
Yeah,
but no more number ones.
And if we mention a lot of the hits, I bet Rob would recognize them. We mentioned Elenore. Gee, I think you're swell. You showed me what to do. That one, right? It ain't me, babe.
My favorite one from them, actually.
Right. She'd rather some girls want to run around. She'd rather be with me.
Oh yeah.
Hey, babe. What else, Mark? There's a bunch.
You baby.
You baby.
Yeah. And let me be was one. And then they had some minor hits, like there's a film called The Guide for the Married Man, which is, kind of semi-classic 1960s, kind of Love American style type romp, but it was directed by dancer Gene Kelly of all things. But the Turtles sang the theme song. So, if you see this movie called Out of Sight, the Turtles actually appear. They don't sing a big hit, unfortunately, but they're in it. So and that's probably on YouTube too. So, I think the song's called Come Back, which is, on one of their later albums, just as a filler, things like that.
And in later years, post Turtles, you'll recognize the theme song from the Gary Shandling show.
Oh, this is the Gary theme.
And that's them.
That's them. Yeah.
That's them?
Yeah.
They did a version of it. Another thing, and this is another Monkees connection. I don't know if you know the name Chip Douglas, but we interviewed him for the book. But he has a Monkees Turtles connection, is basically kind of members and producers of both bands. Well, Chip co-wrote a song called Christmas Is My Time of Year with Howard Kalin. Years later, he got the three of the four Monkees minus Nesmith in the 70s to re-record that song. And the Monkees version is probably preferable. And then they added it as a bonus track on the Monkees Christmas Party way later. But, so if you ever want to hear it, but it's a pretty good song.
By them. Yeah, that was
but
cool.
The original version was written by Howard and Chip, and they did it as the Christmas Spirit. And it has like half the Turtles, like Flo, Eddie, and John Barbada, I believe. And Linda Ronstadt's on the record. And that's easier to find now because I think there is a Turtles compilation that compiles all their singles on it. So now you can find that one pretty easy too. Or again, YouTube, our friend. So.
And I wish I consulted with Mike before we did the book, because I would have asked Howard Kalin, how much did you guys get paid to play the White House? and whatever answer he would have given us, Mark Volman would have probably given a different answer.
Yes.
That's funny.
That's pretty funny.
Well, you mentioned compilations. I think, and Rhino had made that documentary you're talking about on video, but they've also put out a bunch of their reissues, right?
Oh yeah.
Rhino.
And that's how I found out about him in the first place. Yeah. I mean, here's you asked that and I never answered it, but I found out about Flo and Eddie first because in the 70s I started getting interested in music. That's when I became a Beatles fan. That's when everything started happening. And I knew about these guys called Flo and Eddie because they were on the radio and they had a radio show and they interviewed different pop stars. They also toured with Martin Mull. I was a fan of Martin Mull because he was on Fernwood Tonight. He was on Mary Hartman, and it's like, I love this guy. And then I ended up seeing Martin Mull in concert in 1977. It was probably the earliest thing. And Flo and Eddie opened, but I didn't know who they were, other than, hey, it's like they're friends. And they did a TV special around the time, which is also on YouTube. And anyway, so I knew Flo and Eddie. Okay. And then I knew Happy Together. I knew the name The Turtles and everything like that. And I was also a fan of Rhino Records. I was learning comedy and music all around the same time. And Rhino Records would have an inner sleeve that would have like all the records that they put out, just like Beatles records or anything else. They always had the inner sleeve with their other releases. And they had all these Turtles releases. And I said, who the heck's that? Who are these guys? And then it didn't connect until they put out this compilation called The Best of Flo and Eddie and the Turtles. And they had them both listed as a 3-box record set. We talk about it in the book. And I said, how are they connected to the Turtles? And slowly I figured out they were in the Turtles. They are the Turtles. And then so it's like, I love them here. I love them here. It's like, and so I started learning bits and pieces and stuff like that. And that actual 3-record set actually had a little comic book insert that had like the first basic history of the Turtles. Very sparse, didn't have too much detail, but it kind of covered the highlights. And I go, okay, and then it kind of came from there.
I'm going to share something with you, Mark, that I never told you. Yeah, I know I look much younger and I'm much better looking, but I'm actually much older than Mark. And I was working in a theater as an assistant producer, which was a glorified gopher. And we had booked a few shows, and Martin Mull was due to come and play for us in 1977. And the theater ran into financial problems and closed. And I didn't even realize that they were his opening act because it said plus opening act. It didn't say.
That's right. They didn't do it when I saw him either.
So I would have been part of the booking and their appearance at a theater that I was working with. And I didn't realize they opened for Martin Mull.
Wow. I wonder why they didn't list them. That's strange.
But they have a very wild and varied career. I mean, the part we haven't even talked about is later they ventured into children's records, and they did a number of Strawberry Shortcake records and Care Bear records, and they actually took these things seriously. You remember the old Chipmunks records that came out in the early '60s? Chipmunks Go Around the World. Well, they did the Care Bears Go Around the World, and they did the same thing where they'd write a song about Spain or about Japan or about France, and they are really good songs that if a regular band just covered them and didn't say where they got it from, it'd probably be hailed as a masterpiece album of 60s type pop, because it sounds like Turtle stuff but made for kids. So.
And at the risk of taking away a future question from you, we also didn't touch upon, you mentioned Alice Cooper, but they also did backup vocals for T-Rex.
Yes, Bang a Gone. Yeah, Bang a Gone.
Springsteen, Hungry Heart. There's so many credits.
Angry,
and there's so many that they didn't get credit for that they sang on.
The Blondie Auto American, which is their biggest album, with Rapture and The Tide is High. They're on that album.
Right.
Trying to think what other ones.
Probably one of my least favorite Blondie albums too.
Yeah, but it's their most successful, so there you go. Thanks to Flo and Eddie, but no.
A Turtle song came in. Like somebody played something. They were playing a Turtle song, and I remember the guy Shazamming it. He thought it was somebody else, and when he found out with Turtle, he had like this disappointed look at his face. It's like, I would have never guessed the Turtles in 100 years. And I said, those guys got like 1 million hits. Like they don't, they got like a very popular song. They were like, they had a lot of popular songs that you know the song, but who the hell sang this? And then Shazam, and you're like, the Turtles. What the fuck is the Turtles?
Shazam is a great app. It really is. Like, it's such a simple idea. Okay, what is this song? And it just knows it. You know what I mean?
But you also got Hound Dog.
You have an argument with somebody. Yeah.
You got Hound Dog. You got like a bunch of them now that can do it.
Yeah, there's more than one.
Shazam was like, you put the song and they tell you who it was. even if it wasn't the original, it knows that it's this person, which is even I find that pretty fucking like wow. It could tell it's not even the
cover.
To me, it sounds the same, and it's telling me no, it's this guy singing, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I think Soundhound is what you mean for
Soundhound. Yeah.
Soundhound is the other one. That one's good too. Soundhound.
Those are good. They somehow they can hear two notes, and they're better than Name That Tune.
It's true. So, all right, Charles Rosenay, thank you for being on, and Mark Arnold, thank you for being on, talking about the Turtles tonight, and your brand new book, Not Just Happy Together, which can be found on notjusthappytogether.com and on Amazon and anywhere else I'm forgetting.
Probably on the website of Genius Books, Genius Publishing, where publishers are. Those 3 places. I don't think it's on some of the other outlets, but that's all you really need. But we want to also thank you for accommodating our time schedule for tonight. This was
no problem at all. It's a pleasure to have you both on. Mm-hmm. And
I should really be drinking right now and making bad decisions, but I'm here with you beautiful guys.
That's true.
I'm sure you were drinking before, and I'm sure you'll be drinking after.
Yeah, you're right.
Drinking, what a great idea.
Charles called you out, Rob. He called you out.
I got to tell you guys something. This was a pleasure. It's great meeting you, Mark, and Charles. You're amazing. You always bring your top game, and dude, I hope a lot of good luck for you guys, and hope you guys do some other future books and stuff.
We will. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. And what do we say at the end of every episode, Rob?
We don't get drunk.
We get lumped up.
And we'll see you next time.
Take care, people.
I'm all lumpy.